Hey folks, Phil here. After kind of a lot of debating, I have made the decision to go full-time content creator over the summer. I'm going to be keeping my traditional teaching job during the year, but I'm not going to be doing my normal Latin Academy job this year. In order to kind of make that decision make financial sense and make up for the money that I'm going to be missing by doing that, I have started a Patreon. There's going to be assorted perks for joining that, such as additional written content and exclusive access to some stuff. There is an article in the video description as well as a link to the Patreon directly. If you've been enjoying my content and want to support this endeavor that I'm going to be doing, this is a great time to do that, to kind of give me the pat on the back and say like, "Hey, Phil, that was an okay decision. We've got your back for making that." I'll be running this video every day this week, and after you've seen it once, feel free to skip it. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another modern video. So I got a kind of interesting request. I got a request to brew around old growth troll. Now, this is a card that the donor had liked playing in Standard and wanted to see if it could hang in other formats. And essentially, I had a couple of different directions that I could take, and this is what I ended up doing. So, for those of you not familiar with Old Growth Troll, it is a 4/4 trampler, and if it dies, you get to return it to the battlefield as an aura enchantment that enchants a forest, and it lets that forest tap for 2 green mana. You can pay 1 and sacrifice it to create a tapped 4/4 green troll warrior creature token with trample. So essentially, when I saw this card, I had 3 ideas. Number 1 is play it with a bunch of elves so that you can ramp into this and play this as a turn 2 threat. Number 2 was the devotion idea that I ended up going with. And number 3 was playing it with some stuff that allows you to sacrifice creatures or whatever for value. And I thought the elf version was just going to end up being a worse version of the existing elves deck, which is already kind of fringe as is for modern. And I thought the sacrifice version was just going to be too slow. And currently in the modern videos I'm seeing, it's just like absolute, just like people firing rocket launchers at each other. Like the decks are fast right now. Like you've got to contend with things like hammer time and infect and burn in terms of speed. And so I thought like doing something slow and dirtily just wouldn't hang. So we're going to be playing a mono green stompy deck list today. Now, the big payoff for this is that you get to play Aspect of Hydra. Target creature gets plus X until end of turn, where X is your devotion to green. So we can do something like curve Experiment 1 into a green green 2 drop into a green 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 3 drop, and then all of a sudden like Aspect of Hydra is pumping for a very, very, very large amount and can be just a crazy finisher. And one of the other appeals of being in mono green right now is that there are some pretty good mono green lands. And if we end up flooding up and getting into like sort of like the very, very late game, we can make some large creatures. So I think one of the immediate questions is why aren't you playing Nykthos? I played a deck like this before, and I found that Nykthos wasn't allowing me to cast the green green 2 drops. And since all of my 2 drops are green green, I'm not actually helping my mana base by playing the thing that's going to make me more mana in the long game. I'm probably hurting myself because I make it so that I can't curve out. You know, if you look at this deck list in the main deck, there are 0 colorless pips, right? Everything is green, green. And this is partially because we're trying to maximize Aspect of the Hydra, and partially because most of the hyper aggressive green creatures are just straight green pips. It is reasonable to just like throw an objectively powerful creature like Tarmogoyf in here and hope that it gets big, but like we're not playing fetch lands, we're not playing any sorceries, we're only playing 4 instants. You're really relying on your opponent to do a lot of the work there. And if we're going to play sort of a linear aggro deck, I don't think that's where we want to be. Um, Old Growth Troll is an acceptable power level for this deck. Like in the grand scheme of modern, I don't consider this a like powerful card or it's borderline unplayable. But specifically in this shell where like we're trying to play creatures that look like this is not an embarrassing card. As far as the sideboard goes, I don't think this deck is objectively powerful enough that we get to try to beat everything, so I've kind of focused in on the sideboard. We're going to be good against, well, maybe good against is a stretch. We're going to have Game versus the Cascade decks. I'm going to have Collected Company for when we get paired against control decks, and I just kind of need a little bit of card advantage. And then we're going to have a handful of cards for burn. We're going to have Scavenging Ooze to gain life and Cetizen Petitioner, which gains life equal to my devotion to green. And then that gives us kind of another reason to lean into these green pips. The other sort of interesting piece of tech I'm going to try out is Ranger class. So this is going to be 2 mana for a 2/2 wolf, but then I can pay 1 and a green to level it up so that whenever I attack, I get a +1/+1 counter on one of my attacking creatures. And if I get to level it up a second time, I can start casting creature spells from the top of my library. And as you can see here, I have 32 creatures in the main deck, so especially since like these are cheap and sometimes I might have multiple creatures in a row, that could be a good amount of value. So essentially, we have 6 cards for the control matchup, 5 cards for the burn matchup, 4 cards for the cascade matchups, and we can do a little bit of adjusting here and there. Hopefully, I do some amusing things this league, and let's see if we can put some wins on the board. I'm kind of shooting for a 2-3 with this list, and if we can do better than that, I will be quite happy. Anyway, if you're new here, please consider subscribing for sweet deck lists 5 days a week. And if you're a regular, please throw me a like before this video begins. That's the easiest way to support my content for free. If you want to support my content in a paid way, there's all sorts of ways that you can do that in the video description, such as joining my Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Let's battle. Okay, do I keep the 1-land Hex Drinker Rancor hand, or do I just mulligan this? I'm gonna have 2 draws to hit a land to make this hand pretty good, but like this is a hand with triple 3-drop, and like these are probably gonna be dead cards. I think I'd rather have a more average hand than this. This definitely fits the definition of a more average hand. I don't have a 1-drop, which I really want, but don't I have like 18 outs draw 1-drop? Okay, so 16. No, this is probably acceptable. I don't want to go too deep here. I'm not sure if I should keep Aspect of Hydra or Rancor. The Aspect of Hydra is a huge one-time burst. The Rancor is sustainable if this game goes long. I think since I'm on the draw, I'm going to take the sustainable thing. All right, we getting burned? We're getting burned. So, like, we've got sideboard cards to help out with this. Avatar of the Resolute. All right, so that'll be another 2-drop. So I'm gonna take a little bit of damage before I get on board here. It's kind of my hope that, like, once I get this on board, I stall out the board. I expect I'm gonna play Werewolf Pack Leader, and it's just, like, going to immediately die. While my opponent's fetching here, I do want to thank Jeremy, Daniel, and Bill for being my first 3 Patreon patrons. So I'm recording this on Sunday before, like, my article goes live, and I start, like, plugging the Patreon. And I kind of shared it on the back end to the Discord server because they always get to see my stuff early. And they just all kind of immediately joined. That was, like, good affirmation that this whole Patreon thing will probably work out, and I won't be just, like, absolutely crazy for taking the summer off to pursue content creation. All right. So I think I am going to go ahead and wait on this one for a little while. Actually, with the Rift Bolt there, I should probably just play my worst creature first. All right. So this Rift Bolt probably targets this to get the Goblin Guide in there. Oh, wow, they just went to my dome. Absolutely. Does that mean they have something like a Searing Blaze here? Okay, skewer me. Ow. And both of these are going to come in. Okay, so they just want to trade my Goblin Guide for this. Oh, no, they just want to slow roll the Lightning Bolt. Sure. Yeah, so I'm basically dead here. Play a Steel Leaf Champion. I take 1 from this. Be dead to any burn spell, or I can play both of these. Yeah, I actually probably have to play 2 creatures here, right? Yeah, I probably have to play 2 creatures and then do this. But I'm dead to anything going to the dome here. An opponent has 3 cards, so like I don't imagine that I am alive. Yep, there's a Searing Blaze. I'm very dead. All right. So we've got our plan. I've got 5 cards to bring in for this matchup. Since I'm bringing in some 3-drops, I'm probably supposed to cut some 3-drops. Like, sorry, old growth troll, but like, I gotta go fast here. And I think the 5/4 unblockable, well, basically unblockable, is better than the 4/4 trampler here. Probably just cut this 2, and then I need to make one other cut somewhere else. Against the number of like spot removal spells my opponent has, maybe I'm supposed to cut one of these. Like, it closes the game well. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to cut a Rancor. I could buy that too. Let's try this. And I think I have enough 1-drops that I can't really consider boarding Chalice in here. That is 1 land. I don't think that's going to do it. That is 1 land again. That's unfortunate. This doesn't win if I miss the land drop. Like, I don't know what you want me to say here. Like, I have to go to 4, and I basically need like a Scavenging Ooze type hand to have any chance at winning. All right, this goes back. Probably can't keep this. I probably have to throw back a land and hope that I draw a land. Well, that's just awful. Like, all I wanted to do is mulligan to any hand that had 2 lands, and I would have kept. That's really rough. I'm not sure that even if nothing goes wrong here, that I will just, like, have the resources to win this game. Just for the sake of mana efficiency, I'm gonna do this. The dream is being able to, like, play the Hexdrinker and level it all up in the same turn, so, like, it actually gets to hold the fort, but I don't expect that to happen. I'm gonna eat a, like, Searing Blaze type effect here. Yep. Alright, I'll take 2, going to 14. Yeah. This is just gonna be a time where I physically don't have enough resources to realistically win this game. Like, maybe there's a world where, like, I draw this land, gain 4 life, and, like, can maybe get somewhere. That's tough. Alright, there's another Avatar of the Resolute on top of my deck. I probably just have to say, trade, take this. And I probably end up trading either Rift Bolt or sorry. This probably trades with one of these 2 cards, what I'm getting at. I'm going to let it trade with Hexdrinker. Weird as that sounds. So if my opponent doesn't use something to get rid of Hexdrinker, it potentially has protection from instants as of next turn. And, like, then maybe it actually holds the ground successfully. Or I could just, like, die this turn. Like, that's a thing that can happen too. Good God. Yeah. So I take 4, go to 3. Yep. I mean, this is just the result of mulliganing into Oblivion here. Like, I'll play it out like I'm still in this game, but opponent has 2 cards in hand. If either one of them is a burn spell, I'm dead. Or if this cycles into a burn spell, I'm dead. So, not hopeful. All right, there's the cycle. And this is me dead. This is me dead. Yep. I mean, literally nothing we could do there. Like, none of our initial hands were keepable until 4 cards. Okay, I'll absolutely be keeping this hand. We are playing against a Luris deck. I have a very good shot at, like, actually curving out and doing something pretty respectable here. So, like, if I draw a 3rd land, this is going to look pretty hot. All right, I read. Okay. Playing against Burn again. Do I want to play the 3/3 first? How does Pack Tactics work? Packed with creatures with power 6 or greater. Yeah, I guess I'll just wait and play the Pack Tactics thing later. I absolutely have a, like, much greater respect for the D&D set now that, like, I've played a decent amount of D&D. My party actually fought a Tarask last night, for those of you that actually means something to. Not just a regular Tarask, like a very powered up one, because we're in, like, Godbuster territory. Dealing with Prismatic Ending, sure. Okay. So, these Aspect of Hydras are going to do an absolute crap ton of damage. Yeah, the Tarask had 2,200 HP. and regained 40 HP a turn. So it was a slog of a fight. So we're not actually playing against burn. We're playing against some sort of like control deck. Um, is okay. Probably means my collected companies and my sideboard are going to be coming in. The flashback lava dart. All right. So, okay, it is still burn adjacent. Like, there's still Swift Spears in here. Damn. All right, I'm at 18. And I'm getting skewered. Or, sorry, this is light up the stage, not skewer. Sure. All right, so they're closer to, like, a prowess deck than anything else. Got it. All right, that's a fantastic draw. What are we looking at? Sure, Swift Spear's fine. Lava Dart me, absolutely. And light up the stage as a follow-up. Sure. Bobble. So I can, like, trade for a Swift Spear and lose my entire board. Or take 8 damage. So right now, this is 3, 6. I can hit my opponent for 11 next turn. I'm not sure if I win the game if I make this trade, because, like, my opponent will have 1 on-board threat and then, like, play this. Because this is until end of next turn, right? Yeah. I don't think I win the game if I make that trade. That super sucks. But I think a lot of the worlds where I win look like this. 3, 6, 9, 14 damage. Lava dart. That lava dart, though. Okay, how much am I taking as of right now? Like 7? Yeah. I think I'm dead a good portion of the time here. Alright, crash on in. Boom. 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 14 damage, you're at 2. Basically, another burn spell will kill me here. So, like, I think there's a very good chance that I'm dead. But I kind of think I just have to go for it here. Let's see what my opponent can do. There's the lightning bolt. So, like, this is still going to be back as a theoretical blocker. Okay. There's the kill from my opponent. Yep. All right. Ragavan's in there, too. So I'll kind of board like before, roughly, where I get these cards in here. Place some number of, like, old growth trolls and aspects of Hydra. I think the aspects of Hydra are going to be worse against this opponent. Because they are playing a slightly more controlling build. So, like, the question then becomes, like, do I want something like Coco? I'm not sure that the game is going to drag on long enough that I actually do want that. Ranger's class is sort of tempting. Because, like, this is a lot of 3-drops. I think I'm going to board out 2 trolls. Or 2 ranger classes. Let's try this. Okay. I have lands and spells. Keep. I think I'm going to play out Pelt Collector first. If something's going to get, like, just lava darted or equivalent, I would rather it be that than Hex Drinker. Because Hex Drinker is still a very good top deck endgame, whereas Pelt Collector is not. So, like, some of these things that have activated abilities, I'll probably sandbag for a little while. So if I draw a land, my curve is probably 1, 2, 3. Ranger class. That's cool. I wonder if I want to play that right now. No, I think I want to play the Avatar right now. Because this is whenever it enters the battlefield or dies. Okay, so there's a lightning bolt. So I get 2 counters here instead of 1. And I get to attack with a 3/3. Little things. So if I played the 2/2. Ooh, Soul Scour Mage is in here as well. Okay, cool. I get bashed for 1 here. Okay, cool. So that means I can go ahead and play this. That triggers Pelt Collector. Now, Pelt Collector has 3 or more counters, so it becomes nice and trample-y. And, like, we're actually curving out, and we look like a respectable Magic deck this game, which is cool. All right, Bobble. Also, just saying, like, the Petitioners would be a pretty respectable draw right now, like, just to gain 6, right? They found Path to Exile. Not great for me. I'm going to go down to 13, unless I block. Block's not great for me. It's like, I block, my opponent Path to Exiles my Pelt Collector, and then I end up losing this creature to the Prowess trigger. I don't know, I still have, like, Scavenging Ooze, Ranger Class, Hex Drinker to kind of try to go, like, long. Yeah, maybe I'm supposed to just, like, accept that. Like, my opponent is potentially just better at, um, words, at closing out this game than I am. And, like, with this extra mana, the cards that I have in hand just, like, immediately become more threatening. I think this is just the Scavenging Ooze turn now. Let's do this. Eat my opponent's Soul Scour Mage, and then let's eat one of my creatures from graveyard. So I've immediately turned this into a 4/4. So I won't eat it to a Lightning Bolt-like removal spell. I can still, like, get it pathed or whatever. But I'm good against some stuff here. Seems good. Alright, light up the stage goes to the graveyard. Firing Vantage. Okay, that's a land. That's fine. The path sucks for me. Like, I wanted to avoid white removal. I eat 3 damage this turn, 6 damage next turn in all likelihood. Okay, so I can go Experiment 1 into Hex Drinker, which grows Experiment 1. And I can use 3 mana here to give that protection from instants. So then I have a pretty respectable blocker versus Monastery Swiftspear. Things can still happen. Interesting. Thought opponent had an Inspiring Vantage in exile that they could play. But maybe they forgot about it. Alright, another Dragon Rage Channeler. That's a lot of power in the air. Okay, opponent is making the attack in with this. I will absolutely block. Like, if they have a sorcery that kills this, they have a sorcery that kills this. But I think my Experiment 1 just kind of eats it most of the time. Alright, Lava Dart, my Experiment 1. Then you are going to flashback Lava Dart, targeting Experiment 1. Sure. I still win this combat interaction. Oh, I must have missed this. There was another Lava Dart in graveyard. That's a little savage. Yeah, that must have been, that must have gotten, dumped in the graveyard by one of these. Ooh, cool. I can play a Strangleroot Geist. I can play a Ranger class. I can level up a Ranger class. Be damn near dead. I think the only way I win is by killing my opponent next turn. So I'm going to go ahead and attack on in and put a +1/+1 counter on that. Okay, so opponent is raiding. That's an unfortunate interaction. Yep. I mean, I essentially got to block a Dragon Rage Channeler, so, like, that's not the end of the world. I thought my opponent was just going to eat that damage, though. Not going to lie. Yeah, the burn deck is just faster at doing what I'm doing than I am. All right, I should really say the burn decks. I kind of expect that I'm dead here. So I always take 3 in the air, which effectively means that I'm at 2 life. That means that I have to block both of these other bodies or I'm going to die because my opponent can just bobble from the graveyard. I guess I'm playing towards, like, a Rancor situation. I'll play Hex Drinker, level it until it's a 4/4. This costs 4 to do now. And I'll just kind of level this fully. And I will need 1 more point of damage to produce lethal. So I can level to a 6/6 Ranger class, attack for a 7/7. So if my opponent fetches, or if I draw a Rancor, or if I draw, like, a Strangleroot Geist, I'm good. My opponent can also just, like, draw any burn spell and just send it at my face and I'm dead. Like, that becomes a whole nother issue. Guess I can also surveil a Lava Dart into the graveyard to kill me. Sure. Alright, so... Alright, my opponent is just going to try not to die themselves. That's fine, I suppose. Light up the stage just very, very, very likely kills me, because, like, my opponent can surveil things that don't kill me into the graveyard. Yeah, path doesn't kill me. Okay, those also don't kill me. Oh my god, my opponent just fetched a 7. If they don't kill me now, they're dead. I don't know if my opponent realized that. Protection from everything is pretty dope. Okay, my opponent is just, like, leaning into trying to kill me right now. Alright, so they're going for another light up the stage. Do they hit a burn spell? Alright, they hit a burn spell. That feels like a risky line from my opponent, but scoreboard. Okay, so we're playing against another Luris deck. I'm gonna lose my mind if we've just queued into burn for the 3rd round in a row. Um, this is the same thing as before, where, like, I really need 2 lands for my hands to be keepable. I'm gonna ship this one. That's more land than I would like, but, this is a beggars can't be choosers situation. Like, there's a very real chance that, like, a pelt collector could deal with a pelt collector that's double rankored could grow and do some disgusting things, but, I'm not super hopeful. Alright, so this is about to eat a removal spell. I'm not even sure if I should play the Rancors, honestly. Like, this is just, like, so likely a Fatal Push type card. Um, do I win the game if I do not attempt this? Maybe. I can still put things on Steel Leaf Champion. This is an awful feel-bad situation. I'm just gonna knock my opponent to 16 and call it a turn. Like, if my opponent got a free time walk by shocking there, like, so be it, but I don't think I can just, like, play that Rancor out in that situation. Oh, this is not a Scars land. I thought this was formatted like a Scars land. God damn it. Alright. Okay, that was a huge punt on my end. I'll attack for 1. Yep, okay. I am frustrated with myself for that mistake. Like, so be it, but maybe it works out now so that I get to, like, play Steel Leaf Champion, immediately Rancor it, and just attack for 9, then attack for 9 and kill my opponent. Like, we're playing against Shadow, so, like, shit can happen. Yeah. Yeah. Hey. Alright. I'll play one of these, and I'll Rancor it. Okay, there's a land drop. Thoughtseize, I lose a Rancor. I mean, I'll take the 15, because I have theoretical lethal on board. Okay. Alright. I mean, that sucks, basically. Um, I'm playing in colors that don't have removal, and removal is kind of the thing that I want here. If I play Chalices, I invalidate a huge portion of my deck. I think I'm just going to ship back, which is not a good sign for me. Okay, reasonable hand here. First, the Seiju spotting as well. Alright, land, Alt Collector. Seiju, like, technically has text here at, helping out with dealing with Dress Down, but not exact. Excuse me, that's not exactly what I want to be using that for. Like, I probably am going to need to curve out and just use it as a land. Alright. Okay, maybe not anymore. I think I'm actually going to Alt Collector and Rancor rather than play Strangleroot Geist this turn, so that I can use Strangleroot Geist to trigger Pelt Collector next turn. Oh wow, we're trading. Cool. So that means I get a +1/+1 counter on this, and I get my Rancor back. Okay, opponent is going to go to 13 with that shock. Starting to get into the range where Death Shadow can do stuff. Okay. We'll see which one of these cards I lose. I expect it's going to be the creature, yeah. And, okay. Basically out of steam here. Need to top deck a threat. It's not quite what I want. I mean, I'll play it. I'm gonna just kind of hold the Boseiju in case I do need to answer a dress down. But, like, that's a pretty feel bad situation. Okay, opponent's just passing their turn. That's not the draw I want. All right, I'll bash in for my 3. Are we dealing with here, like, a drown in the lock or something? It is. Sure. I only get to deal 1 damage this turn. I am running on fumes. my aspect of the Hydras aren't going to be good top decks because, like, I've had 5 pips worth of devotion go to the graveyard. Okay, opponent is shocking yet again. Okay. Just playing it out, notably, not dashing it. Alright, cool. Not getting dash. I don't think this is very likely to resolve. I think I'm right. Yeah. I think I now have to hold this back to block Ragavan. Something horrible is about to happen. Okay, so Croxa happens. I lose this Boseiju. And I basically lose to that Croxa next turn. Okay, Fatal Push happens. Sure. So I eat 2 damage, and then Ragavan does its thing. That enables Croxa to happen next turn. Yeah, alright. I've lost. That's what happens when Ragavan goes unchecked for a single turn. I'm very glad that card is gone from Legacy. Like, even if the Croxa itself doesn't come down, like, I have plenty of, like, 5/4 size threats that my opponent can get from my library. Looks like they are just going to opt to cast their Croxa, though, which I think is better than Strangleroot Geist. Okay, there's Croxa. So I'm going to eat 3 damage on this entering the battlefield. So then I have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I am just dead. I'm very dead next turn. I don't think I have any out here. Yeah. Like, I can play this and not turn it into a 5/3. Like, I can have a 3/3 on the ground. That's fine. We're dead here. Okay, I have a reasonable looking opening hand for round 4 here. Okay. So let's go land X Drinker, and we're gonna hope to aggro my opponent out before they go and do something broken. Yep, I am definitely scared of what my opponent has going on over there. Okay. I think I'm gonna not play Strangleroot Geist this turn. I think I'm just gonna play Werewolf Pack later. Strangleroot Geist gets more damage in now, but I foresee myself casting Strangleroot Geist on a later turn for a little bit of surprise damage. Like, the Werewolf Packmaster will make up the damage that I missed from haste over a couple of turns. Okay. Every time my opponent plays one of these lands, I just fear that I get closer and closer to death. Goblin Charbelcher in play. Cool. Can I kill my opponent this turn? The most damage I can do is Strangleroot Geist plus Aspect of Hydra. But that's not enough, right? Like, I cast this, crash in for 6, draw my card, play an Aspect of Hydra, and hit my opponent for a very respectable amount. Like, I had a turn 4 Goldfish here, which is respectable, but then this shit happens. At least I get to look at my opponent's whole deck. Magus of the Moon. Sure. Fury across the path. Sure, I'm just trying to figure out, like, do I want chalices? Feels like the answer is no. I don't know how consistent my opponent's deck is. It doesn't look super consistent. I'll lower my curve a bit where I can. Actually, like, the devotion pips matter here. Or Aspect of Hydra kills. Maybe I don't do that. Like, the Scavenging Ooze has some minimal text because there's Pyromancer Ascension in my opponent's deck. Yeah, I think I'm just on the game 1 deck again. Like, I could move down Scavenging Ooze for one of the other triple pip devotion cards. I really need 2 lands to have functional hands. Like, otherwise this is just like Pelt Collector into Pelt Collector. Play Rancor on the 3rd turn. No, I'm gonna mulligan this. God damn it. Like, my only requirement for a hand to be capable is that it has 2 lands. I'm on 4. I'll keep. One of these goes back. I guess Experiment 1 goes back. And Rancor goes back. Alright, this doesn't feel like it wins a game of Magic. Okay, so you've got a tapped land. Care about growing Pelt Collector more. No, I think I care about playing this first. I can play this, grow this, get in for 2 this turn, then play Strangleroot Geist next turn, and that allows me to trigger Werewolf Pack Leader, and, like, I really could use some fucking cards here. Okay, there's just another tapped land. That's great. I will just go ahead and play Strangleroot Geist here, and, let's crash in. Are you lightning bolting now? Oh, sure. Absolutely. I still get to draw my card. So, I'll get to okay. Let's see if I'm dead. Like, that could just be cycling a Manamorphose for the sake of cycling a Manamorphose. Okay, sure. That was indeed just cycling a Manamorphose for the sake of cycling one. Alright, so I'll do this. Throw Pelt Collector, which means I am attacking for 6. I get to draw my card. I'm going to have a turn 5 kill here. Alright, but my opponent has a turn 4 kill. Well, okay, maybe they don't. Alright, like, they could just flop a Charbelcher into play and hope it's good enough. Iron Crag Feet, sure. Charbelcher activate. Alright. So I am at negative 28 life. And now, like, we are 0-4 not having won a single game in 4 rounds. I think it's time to do our conclusion. And this is something that I knew from the beginning, right? Like, I thought a wildly successful league with this deck would be a 2-3. The idea to build around old growth troll is not really acceptable by modern power level standards, right? So, like, other people are building decks around Urza Saga, Ragavan, Ren and Six, Teferi, Omnath, these, like, objectively powerful cards that will often, like, carry games on their own. An old growth troll is not an objectively powerful card. It will not carry games on its own. And I am trying to build around this card, right? And, like, I have done the best job that I can at building around this card. But the initial deck idea is not strong. And because the thing that I'm trying to build around is strong, and the shell that I would do in order to build around it is not strong, we end up just being kind of behind in power level on 2 different, like, axes. There are very few cards in this deck that can just win games of Magic on its own. And when you look at modern decks, like, we're facing down Death Shadows and Ragavans, Omnaths, like, you can even just do something like a Monastery Swiftspear, right? Like, a Monastery Swiftspear backed by a bunch of just random burn spells, like, that will carry a good portion of a game. Well, our cards don't do that. So, like, I've built around this card in the best way I could think of to do, but because the thing that I am trying to build around isn't strong, we don't end up in really an acceptable place. So, like, this is a respectable, like, super casual modern deck. Like, this entire deck is extremely inexpensive. Maybe, like, minus this. But ultimately, our power level isn't here. And as you can see, like, the pace of games in modern is extremely high. Like, this is probably going to be a 40-minute video by the time I am done editing out all of these games, because our opponents just killed us. And when, like, our win conditions are 3 mana things that need to survive another turn to just, like, attack, I don't know that this is acceptable. So if you all have better ideas for Old Growth Troll, let me know. But I think the initial premise of this deck list in trying to build around this card was just not viable. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed watching me get bullied. If you did, click the like button. It'll bring back a little bit of my self-esteem, which just died as I got bullied this league. No, just kidding. I'm good. Have a great rest of the day, folks, and I'll be back tomorrow. See ya.